You're listening to Straight from the Drafts. I'm your host Nao, social media strategist, business cheerleader and chronic oversharer. In this weekly voice note from me, you can expect actionable insights and behind the scenes stories, my best tips and all the encouragement, all with the goal of helping you plan your content with confidence so that you can turn your goals into reality with the support from your social media. So grab a drink, pop in your headphones and let's get into this week's episode. Welcome back for episode 4, and I am back talking to you all about content and strategy today. We had a couple of weeks chatting about behind the scenes of my social media management business over the last few years to celebrate the business's birthday, but it is time to jump back in with some strategy chat. My laptop with the notes in front of me does sound like it's going to take off, so I don't know if you'll be able to hear that, but apologies if there's like a background hum on this episode. The next few episodes will be packed full of insights that lean more towards Instagram content, but I will also point out where I feel like there's lessons that can be taken for other platforms as well. So before we dive into today's topic, I thought I would answer one of my DM dilemmas. Okay, this one's a fab question, and it comes from a dog walker and trainer, just for some context. So they said, I don't know what my strategy is. Is that a problem? I post what I think my clients need to help with their training. Love this question. So, first thing that comes to mind with this question is, I think you do know what your strategy is, because you've just told me. Your strategy is posting value-based content that you believe will be helpful for your clients. That is your strategy. And knowing you and your content, as I do, it will definitely be valuable. So you do know what your strategy is. I think maybe what you're actually saying here is that a strategy? Does that count? Because that's what I see for so many business owners online. Because of all the noise and the conflicting advice, it's easy to start doubting your approach and getting overwhelmed by that word strategy and overthinking, is what I'm doing even a strategy? But the definition of that is just an action plan designed to achieve a longer term goal. So if your longer term goal is to educate and provide additional support and guidance for your clients, then what you're doing is helping with that. What I would ask is it helping you to achieve what you want to achieve with your content? Is the primary goal of your content to give more support and advice? Because if it's something else, for example, getting more bookings, filling up your group training classes, then a different approach might be needed. So what you're doing is a strategy. My question would be, okay, that's a strategy, but is that strategy meeting the goal that you're actually trying to achieve? Is that goal you just want to help to educate your clients, or is there another goal that you're working towards and maybe your strategy just needs some adjustment? So that DM dilemma really segues us nicely into today's episode, where the main point that I want you to take away is your business strategy and your content strategy are not two different things. I'm just going to say that again, just to help soak it in. Your business strategy and your content strategy are not two different things. They're kind of like two prongs of the same fork, I guess. Or your business strategy is the handle of the fork and your content strategy is one of the prongs off it. They are very much connected. Your content strategy, at its simplest, should support you to reach your business goals. So while gurus might give you all of these hacks and rules about how many times to post, the exact formula for a viral reel, and the fact that you should only post on a Tuesday while doing a handstand, we just need to stop overcomplicating it, because that's all we need to think about. What is your goal right now? And when I say what is your goal, I'm not talking about your big overarching mission. Just one goal for the next week or month that you're focusing on. So your mission might be empowering female entrepreneurs with powerful branding to help them take their business to the next level. Love that hold that mission tight. But that's not a goal. Your goal might be selling out your remaining web design slots before your next holiday. Okay, we can work with that. That's a tangible and, most importantly, measurable goal. And can you see how, if that is the goal that you focus on with your content, you don't get lost in the noise of the online space? Your follow count becomes almost irrelevant. The number of likes that you get on a post feels less of a gut punch because you're booked up and thriving and you're not bothered about that. This is something that, to be fair, I think is applicable across all platforms. It's not specific to Instagram. This is very much like content strategy 101. But I do think that this worry of strategy and overcomplicating it is rife on Instagram. I think TikTok is much more free-flowing and experimental, and people go into it with more of that mindset, whereas Instagram feels like this big, scary, unknown thing. So that's why I'm kind of focusing more on Instagram with this episode, but you can apply this to wherever. You're probably at this point impatiently listening, thinking, okay, like that's my goal, but how do I actually meet that goal now? What do I post in order to reach that goal? So let's stick with the web design example. The goal is to sell your remaining 2 slots. So where do you start? Before you jump into Instagram, start scrolling for trending audios, looking for inspiration, stay with your business. Have a good old brainstorm with what you already know, because you are the expert in your business. And if you start scrolling and looking at what other people are saying online, you'll start doubting yourself, getting distracted and feeling like shit before we've even started. So prompt 1 for your brainstorm, the actual offer itself. You want to sell web design slots. What does your web design service involve? And this step will feel so obvious to you because you know your business inside out, but spoiler alert, your audience don't. So I want you to just really write things out relating to that offer. Your sales page might help you to do this. Like, what is the process for booking with you? What is the process from inquiry to delivery? How long does it take? And this is all just the logistics, but it's important to have it in mind. The real power, the real juice, lies in the next couple of prompts. So prompt 2. Have you had any clients go through this offer before? Tell me about them. What do they have in common? Did they come to you with the same story each time? Or I'm taking inquiries manually in my DMs, or I'm telling my clients the same information all the time. I wish I had somewhere that I could just send them. What did your clients say in their inquiries? What were their struggles? Really pay attention to the words people are telling you. That might be in your comments. What resonates with people? What are people saying in your DMs? And then once you delivered for those clients, what did they say then? What was the impact of your service on them? And I don't just mean what did they say in their testimonial, but how have you seen their business transform, their confidence transform after working with you? I want you to get really deep on this too. Okay, so they're sick of repeating themselves to clients and want to send clients to an automated booking system on a new website. So what? Think about the time that it's going to save them, time that they could be spending with family, time where they can switch off and not have to be online 24/7 in order to take a booking. The actual struggle that they're having is very rarely that top level issue that you're presented with, so get really good at listening. Prompt 3, zoom out of the specific offer slightly and think about what's unique about you within this industry. This can sometimes be a tricky one because you only know yourself, right? You know yourself so well that it's sometimes quite hard to know what it is that makes you special. But again, listen to what people are telling you. There's research everywhere if you pay attention. So what are people saying about you? Why did those clients come to you specifically? Maybe this doesn't feel tricky at all because you've got a really specific niche and those clients came to you because you're the go-to designer in the well-being industry. You're known in that niche. And going back to the DM dilemma that we had before, Maybe you're just the most highly recommended dog trainer in your area. But really think about it. And another way to do this might sound a bit negative, but flip it around and think about what isn't you. So what do you see in your industry that winds you up? If a client asked you to do something, what would that request be? Where you'd be like, nope, not my style. That is not how we do things here. Because you will have these values, principles, ways of working that are personal to you. And they're all really important to think about as well, so that when you're creating content, you can kind of drip feed those in, and then you're only attracting or even repelling the right people. You're going to push away the kind of people that you don't want, and you're going to bring in the people who will kind of match your vibe. So you've got your brainstorm. You now know exactly what you're selling. And yes, I know selling is an icky word, but you're a business, so let's be realistic. Your goal is probably to make sales. You know who you're selling to, what their current struggles are, and the impact that your offer can have on them. And finally, why it should be you. Your vibes, your values, how you do things differently. And all of this is the starting point for mapping out your content ideas. So you can have a scroll at this stage if you want to, and then when you hit that trend, you can immediately refer back to all of these notes and think, right, well now I know how to apply that to me and my target audience, because you've really put in the effort to get clear on what you have to offer and who you're offering it to, so that you don't get distracted by everyone else's content ideas. But whether you scroll or whether you just sit down, this is the stage where we want to start plotting out a bit of a roadmap. So if we kind of think about it, that your content waves a flag to your target audience, the audience that you now know really well, and that content says, hey, I see you. And because you've done that deep dive, while they might be aware of the surface level frustration, your content is actually pointing out that deeper pain point, like missing out on family time or never being able to switch off. So not only do they feel seen, now they also feel understood. And it can be a light bulb moment where they realise that they've got a problem that maybe they didn't even know they had until you pointed it out. So once you've got their attention, you then introduce yourself. You share the content that's a bit more about how you work, what makes you different, and what you can do to solve their problem. And what I will say is, don't be afraid to sell. If your goal is to make sales, you will have to sell in your content. And you can do that with all of this information. And it can also feel as gentle as like a, oh, by the way, if this is you, if you relate to this, I've got what you need. It doesn't have to be icky, because really you've got the solution to someone's problem. And that's a good thing. That's helpful. And the best content strategies are unique to each and every business. So if we're talking about specifics, like memes might work really well for one business, but they just don't land for another. Some audiences absolutely lap up a value-packed carousel. Others might respond better to video content. So I can't give you an exact strategy in terms of like a content plan on this podcast. Boo, I know, sorry. But hopefully these prompts are a really good starting point to stop you from just endlessly scrolling, and also keeping in mind that your content strategy is, in its simplest form, just there to support your business goals and stop you getting caught up in all the crap that means that you just get overwhelmed and don't post anything. So remember, don't overcomplicate it. Your content strategy is there to help you meet your goals. And metrics like likes, saves, etc., it's all data. It's an indicator of which content that your audience resonates with or found helpful. But the most important measure is, are you actually meeting your goals? And side note, I might do a separate episode about metrics, so let me know if that would be of interest. But start with you, your business, your clients, your audience, and you won't go far wrong. And you'll feel a hell of a lot more peaceful. So cheesy quote to finish. I feel like it's got to be done. And while today's episode has been about trying to answer the question of, I don't know what to post, I also think that really it's about not comparing ourselves to others and not getting caught up in metrics that have nothing to do with what we actually want. So today's quote is, not setting clear goals is like starting a race with no finish line. You'll never know when you've succeeded. As always, I'm wishing you a glorious rest of your day, and I'll be back in your ears next week talking all things storytelling. Oh, and before you go, if you've enjoyed this episode and you're able to rate it or subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, that really makes a huge difference. My DMs are always open, so if there's any topics that you'd love to hear or ones that you particularly have enjoyed, let me know. Okay, see you next week. Bye.